What's up, everybody? Today's video is for all of you PF30 people out there. So whether you're running a road bike or a mountain bike with a PF30 that's having issues, maybe this video will be helpful for you. One of the main problems that the PF30 had was the actual interface between the bearing cups, which were often plastic, like SRAM-made plastic bearing cups, that were then pressed in directly into the carbon on a lot of frames. What would happen is those plastic cups would start to deform over time from all the pressure from the crankset and the spindle, and eventually they'd start moving inside the frame. And in some cases, like the one I'm working on here, it actually ovalized the bottom bracket shell of the bike itself, to the point where the bottom bracket cups would just fall in and out. Like you didn't have to press them in, you just push them in and they just would wiggle around. And so this created an issue, and while there's plenty of alternatives to the plastic press fit cups, once your frame has gotten to that point, even some of the better bottom bracket options, like the screw together one from Wheels Manufacturing, which is what we used, they won't sit in the frame sturdy enough, because it is the frame is enlarged enough in the bottom bracket shell that the new bottom bracket actually wiggles around in there as well. So that was a problem we had on this 2013 Specialized Enduro. Without a good option to fix this, the frame was pretty much toast, and it's otherwise a great bike. So we kind of put our thinking hats on and finally came up with a solution to solve for this. Anyway, here's what it looked like, and here's what we did to correct this. So here we are looking at the bottom bracket shell on the bike, and then here is one half of that PF30 BB from Wheels Manufacturing. Again, this is a two-piece bottom bracket that is supposed to press in and screw together kind of the same time as the concept. Now, while it's supposed to press in, you can see that I can quite easily just push it all the way in against the frame with my fingers. So it is definitely loose and just slides in and out. Now on the drive side, there is a ton of play. I don't know if you can see on the video here, but it is extremely loose. There's a lot of wiggle room there. So that obviously is still going to move around even if I screw the two sides together, which is something I already tried, and even though you tighten it way up, it still wiggles around in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue these in, but with a little bit of a modification. So on this non-drive side, I roughed up the cup with some sandpaper to help the epoxy stick a bit better. And then on the drive side is where I've got to take up some of that space. So if you look here, I've actually used some cloth athletic tape. This is the same tape I use to wrap like my kids' lacrosse sticks, or you might use it on your kid's baseball bat or something like that. Anyway, the concept is that cloth tape is going to take up the space and serve another purpose as well when I pinch these two sides together. So here's what we're going to do. So the plan here is to use some epoxy. I'm just using this JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy, and I'm going to go ahead and glue both of those cups into the bike. So I glued both sides of these cups. I did the non-drive side, which again I scuffed up with some sandpaper, and then I put a nice thin coat, not too much, but a nice thin coat of epoxy on the drive side where I have that cloth tape. Now the reason I picked cloth tape is that once it dries and hardens, I want that cloth to somewhat act kind of like fiberglass. And so that's the main reason I picked cloth tape, was I feel that once it hardens, it's not going to go anywhere and it's going to be more of a permanent solution. So with the glue in place, I was able to use one of the Wheels Manufacturing wrenches, and these are specific wrenches that you require to install these bottom brackets. Now you might need 2 of those for some installs, but I was able to just crank it down from the non-drive side with a single wrench, and that tape with the epoxy on there held the drive side tight enough to where I didn't even have to use a wrench on the drive side. It just sucked in as if I was using like a bearing press to put it in. You can see I've wiped away the excess epoxy that kind of squished out around those teeth, but that tape did a perfect job of filling that void on the drive side. One other thing to note that I did do is inside where the two halves thread together, I did put a fair amount of Loctite in there because I don't want this coming apart. Now these bearings are replaceable in the future, but the intent here is that these cups are going to be, locked in there permanently. This ended up creating a really, really nice interface. When we were done, I can tell you that we took this bike for an extended trip up to Bend, Oregon, and put in several days of riding on it. And this thing has been just rock solid, no issues at all with this bottom bracket so far. Well, that was it. Hopefully some of you found this helpful. If you're having issues with your PF30, this could be a good alternative for you to keep that bike a little bit longer and not just toast and total your whole frame because of a loose bottom bracket. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Cheers.